All right. And again, I'm going to, John Harris is with the Tennessee Firearms Association, and he called my show, I don't even know when it was, a week and a half ago, with some concerns about a Diane Black ad. And, we expressed those concerns. This is a mugging that there is no trail of anywhere online. Now, the presumption is that she wasn't lying and that it happened. She had never talked about it before. And there was a discrepancy in terms of in her commercial ad what she did after that mugging and how that relates to her Second Amendment thoughts, leadership, and when she got her handgun permit. And the only thing at the time we could prove is that she didn't get her handgun permit for 14 years after the attack. Now, most of the discussion was centered around what has been Diane Black's Second Amendment leadership in Congress. But there's also a subtext of, why do politicians exaggerate? Now, Diane Black's response was, first and foremost, outrage, victim card. How dare anyone question a woman who's been assaulted? Which wasn't the intent. And by the way, as I added, she chose to bring that story up in her ad. We didn't. Apparently, it wasn't traumatic for her to relive while pandering for votes, but it's tragic for her to relive when we say, you didn't get your permit for 14 years. What else is an exaggeration in this story? So she demanded that John Harris, that Joe Carr, that I all apologize to her. And my response was, you chose the ad. It wasn't too painful while you were pandering. 2, it was a credible and relevant organization bringing relevant questions forward. And in light of no researchable confirmation, why would we apologize when one of the 2 concerns have already been confirmed by you? You exaggerated when you got your permit. I don't believe she's owed an apology. I question whether she owes us an apology for exaggerating the truth and misleading voters in an advertisement. I did all immediately, and I posted on Facebook the trail of emails. Reached out through an avenue for her to respond immediately or whenever she wanted. She chose to wait till the next morning and go on Ralph Bristol's show. And Diane Black has still not reached out to come on. Now, the way things left on Ralph Bristol's show, she's a victim. How dare us question her attack and make her relive it, and that she will produce the police report. Well, to my knowledge, she never came forward with it. But back on the line is John Harris with the Tennessee Firearms Association. Before we talk to John, Tommy, real quick, the ad, play it so people can hear what this is all about.
When I was 45 years old, I was walking on the streets of Nashville alone, and 3 young men approached me.
Congressman Diane Black.
They were aggressive. They beat me up, they broke my cheekbone, and they ruptured a disc in my back, and there was no one there to help me. They tried to get me in the car, but I knew that I could not let that happen. When the police arrived, they told me that if they had gotten me in the car, I would never have come back. And I decided right then that I could never be a victim again.
Diane Black.
I bought my pistol, I got my permit, I got trained, now I carry it with me.
All right, so here's the story. 3 men while she's walking on a street. And may I say something in Diane Black's defense right off the bat? Even 1 man getting out of a car and punching a woman in the face and stealing her purse with $1,000 cash is a terrible event. And the time to have gotten that permit and got that training was before it happened, and I'm glad she got it after. But clearly this spot talks about 3 men being aggressive, attacking her, trying to get her into the car. Had she gotten in the car, she'd have been killed. And the implication is she went right out and bought her gun, got her training, and carries it with her still today. It was her choice to do that commercial, voice that commercial, and tell that story. Now, re-enter John Harris with the Tennessee Firearms Association. We have the actual police report, and it can't be 3 men unless, of course, we're considering an 8-year-old a man.
Correct. Yeah, we did obtain since last week, finally, a copy of the police report. It's dated in June of 1994 at or around the Vanderbilt campus. Her story as related to the police is that a car pulled past her as she was walking up the sidewalk about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that an adult male black got onto the passenger side, came around the car, approached her in such a fashion that she initially smiled at him and then realized that he was trying to take her purse. Apparently he reaches for the purse. She resists, turns away slightly to protect the purse. He says, "Bitch," and punches her one time in the face, is all that's referenced in the report.
By the way, a terrible thing to happen to any woman, all right?
No,
foremost, end of story. Now, the driver never gets out of the car. The 8-year-old child never gets out of the car and is not a man and not an adult. And nowhere in the police report that I read does it talk about them trying to get anything other than her purse, let alone trying to get her into a car. Did you see anything about that?
No, actually, if you look on the first page of the report, the offense is identified as a strong-arm robbery referencing a purse.
Not an attempted kidnapping.
Not an attempted kidnapping, not an assault, not a violent assault, nothing of an assault component. Now, it's clearly referenced that she got punched. But what's interesting about the report is there's no call for an ambulance. There's no request by her or indication by the police officers that she needed immediate medical attention. She apparently stayed around and showed them what happened and stayed long enough for the police to send out a crime artist to draw a description of the single male black that attacked her. And that's what the police report shows. I mean, fortunately, it was easy to find.
Do you know, to your knowledge, has Diane's big thing was you should apologize, I should apologize. I don't know what Joe Carr had to do with it. Joe Carr should apologize. To your knowledge, did she ever follow through and bring the report forward? Because you're getting the report is the first I've heard of anybody having it.
Yeah, no, we did not get it from her or her campaign or anybody saying, "Here's the report, Harris, you owe us an apology." We got it from an independent source that helped us obtain it. And clearly the report does show that she was punched in the face. It shows that once that happened, I mean, it didn't even break her glasses. It just says they didn't fit anymore.
Yeah, I don't like anybody punching a woman in the face. Don't get me wrong, but that's not relevant to the conversation. Is here's the ad. Tommy, let's go line by line.
When I was 45 years old, I was walking on the streets of Nashville alone, and 3 young men approached me.
Pause. Did 3 young men approach her?
No, not according to the ad, nor was she 45. She would have been 43 at the time.
All right. Tommy, keep going.
Congressman Diane Black.
They were aggressive. They beat me up. They broke my cheekbone.
Pause. They beat me up and they broke my cheekbone.
Right. She clearly uses...
Not they. Only one got out of the car.
Right. She clearly uses the possessive, and in terms of someone asking for apologies, she has accused 2 individuals, one a 9-year-old child, of committing a felony assault that they clearly on the report didn't do.
But nowhere in this police report did she get any medical care for us to know if her cheekbone was broke, right?
Right.
All right, so bruise and broken cheekbone are 2 different things. They and one are 2 different things, especially when one is still in the car and he's a child.
And they ruptured a disc in my back, and there was
Hit
no
pause.
one.
Do we have any indication in the police report that her disc was ruptured or that a back was even injured?
There's no complaint or reference made anywhere in the police report, and it's 13 pages, that there was any back injury. The only thing that's referenced is she is crying, understandably.
I understand.
She was punched in the face.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
And there was no one there to help me. They tried to get me in the car, but I knew that I could not let that happen.
Hit pause. They tried to get me in the car. At any point in the 3 hours with police outside of Vanderbilt University, did she ever mention in the police report they were trying to get her into the car? No.
The police report narrative shows that she was punched, she fell down, and the purse snatcher ran to the car and fled. And there's an eyewitness who says, "That's what I saw, and I followed the car." So there's a corroborating witness that doesn't even say there was an attempted abduction.
All right, keep going.
When the police arrived, they told me that if they had gotten me in the car, I would never have come back.
All right, so obviously if she never and the witness never at the time of the incident told police there was any attempt to get her into the car, I doubt she talked about it with the police, and I would probably have natural doubts that they ever said to her, had you gotten in the car, you'd have been dead.
There's nothing to reference any of that occurring in the report.
All right, so She clearly says they. She clearly portrays 3 men attacked her, ruptured disc, broken cheek. No record of that in the police report. It was an 8 or 9-year-old child in the back seat, never left the vehicle. An adult in the driver's seat, never left the vehicle. Only a black male who got out of the passenger seat did take her purse, did punch her in the face. Looks like all she had was a bruise, and no attempt to try to abduct her. I could play the last part of the commercial, but that we've already established and Diane's already admitted to. She did not, in fact, get her carry permit until February of, what was that, 2010?
2010. So it turns out, based upon the date of the
14
report,
years later.
Actually 15 and a half years, because the report's 2 years earlier than she said it was.
Oh, okay. All right, so she asked you to apologize, me to apologize, Joe Carr to apologize. I never felt the need to. You never felt the need to. Do you feel a need to be apologized to now?
Well, she runs ads for campaign purposes, and I think that she misconstrued on Ralph's show the substance of our conversation, which was, well, there's no proof that it's 14 years. I mean, immediately versus 14 years. So her histrionics on Ralph's show, maybe that's just her nature. If we felt a need for an apology, I really seriously doubt it would be.
I don't want an apology from her, and I don't think you do either. All right, so 3 men did not attack her. 1 did. He did not rupture her disc. He did not break her cheekbone. She never went to the hospital. She didn't seek any medical care. Her purse was stolen. She was hit in the face, and that's awful. And I would never want anybody to go through that. But she has certainly been caught exaggerating a story. Let me ask you, I have my theory, John. I'll speak first. I'm used to dealing with my 9-year-old son, or now 10. But I'll say, what do you think we should do tonight? And he'll always answer, well, what do you think? And so I'm used to having to give my opinion first. And it doesn't come from being a talk show host. It comes from being Nick's father. I think people like to tell extraordinary stories. And extraordinary things don't always happen to normal people. And so this was horrific enough. She didn't need to exaggerate. But she chose to, and she was caught in it. I would say this. I think that this, and I said this in our first interview, this would be the last reason why I wouldn't vote for Diane Black, and she's not in my district. I have many other reasons why I wouldn't vote for her, and I would vote for Joe Carr. So from the very beginning, I've said, what is this all about? And then now it's starting to look, about a problem with telling the truth, and then integrity is very key to political office. But let me ask you, don't you think at some point you'd pull the ad? You know what I mean? That's the part, not the accusations against you and me and the following morning when I invited her to come on and respond and she chose not to. She mischaracterized our conversation. We were right about half. She did, in fact, get her permit 15 years later. That's not the intent of the commercial. And she wasn't attacked by 3 men now, and we come forward with the report. She never did. 1 was a child. 1 stayed in the car. Nobody tried to abduct her. All right, so what do we do with this, John?
Well, that's a great question, and I think part of what we've tried to do is to just show people what the real truth is. Now, as you may know, Michael.
Well, if you'll exaggerate this story, you might exaggerate your record on the Second Amendment or who endorses you or who grades you. I kind of get some of the looseness of it, but.
Well, that's exactly the point. And although I volunteer my effort and time for the Tennessee Firearms Association, I'm a practicing attorney of 32 years here in Nashville. And when I try a case in front of a jury, every judge charges every jury I've ever been in front of with one of these standard charges that says, if you find that a witness has willfully lied or misrepresented to you the facts, you are entitled in your discretion as a result of that proven lie or misrepresentation to disregard everything else that person says.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. I'll give you a different view of it, and that is I can't, in true integrity and credibility as a talk show host, make fun of Hillary Clinton when she's caught doing this and ignore when Diane Black does it. That's the problem for me, ethically.
Absolutely. There's no real...
Or we're all frauds. We're all frauds. So for every Republican that supports Diane Black, and you make fun of Hillary Clinton, I got sniper fire, I never deleted top secret information, don't make fun of her. Don't even have a problem with her if you're going to turn a blind eye when Diane Black's caught doing it. All right, I officially do not apologize. And I'm glad we finally got the report. It did not come from Diane Black. You got it yourself. 3 men did not attack her. 1 was a child. 1 stayed in the car. Only 1 got out of the car. We have no record of her cheek being broken or her disc being ruptured because she didn't ask for and didn't seek and didn't receive any medical attention whatsoever. An eyewitness and her both told the police. They took her purse, one punched her in the face, called her a bitch, and that was it, and drove off. Nobody attempted to kidnap her, and in the commercial, of course, it's 3 men all attacking her at once, breaking her cheek, rupturing her disc, trying to get her in the car. She resisted. Police told her had she been in that car, she'd have never been seen again alive. And that's when she went out and got trained and got her gun, and she carries it still today, when in fact it was one person, no broken anything, nobody trying to kidnap her. And oh, by the way, she got her permit 15 and a half years later. Other than that, do we rest our case now?
That's it. I mean, I think the only other piece to the puzzle is, you know, if there's really a broken bone or a back injury, there's a medical report somewhere. But I'm not even asking her to prove it. I mean, I'm satisfied at this point that the core elements of the story that she's related can't be reconciled.
And it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. What
Correct.
happened to her was enough. There was no reason to exaggerate for pandering purposes. And I don't want an apology. You don't want an apology, but Diane Black owes us both an apology. And whether she does or doesn't, again, as I said from the very beginning, I can think of any number of reasons why I would not vote for her and any number of passionate reasons I would vote for Joe Carr. But this is certainly embarrassing. And the fact that she's still running these ads, well, she's right there with Hillary.
What difference at this point does it make?